I will try and keep this brief. I'm not known for brevity like Margaret. I can also be a bit of a blether. I suppose it's an occupational hazard from being a politician. But I want to thank Margaret and the Voluntary Sector Gateway for inviting me along here today to be part of today's event, which is to recognise and celebrate the contribution of volunteers, the length and breadth of West Lothian, to recognise the individual but also the collective contribution that volunteers make and how they make West Lothian what it is today. Of course, the past week has been Volunteer Week. It's an annual celebration, and it's the 30th anniversary of Volunteer Week, and certainly within the Scottish Parliament we have been marking that annual celebration and as parliamentarians making our voice heard to ensure that the voice of volunteers is heard. In many ways, I think having a week-long celebration called Volunteer Week, in some ways it's just not enough to recognise the contribution. I know people say a week's a long time in politics, a week's a long time in life, but in this instance I don't think a week's long enough to recognise the contribution that volunteers make across the country and certainly here in West Lothian. I do think it's apt that we're here having this celebration in the Lanthorn Community Centre. When I think of the Lanthorn, I always think not just of a building, but of a service, of a hub that is very much part of community life. It's at the heart of life here in Dedridge. I think of organisations like the Good Neighbourhood Network. I think of organisations like Deep Dedridge Ecological and Environmental Project. Projects that have been around a very long time and are part of the fabric of the new town, but have also become, if you like, part of the history of the new town as well. But of course there are other organisations across West Lothian, whether it's the Newton Community Development Trust, whether it's the Fauldhouse Community Development Trust, organisations that very much rely on volunteers and organisations that are very much at the heart of their communities. There are of course too many organisations and individuals in West Lothian for me to mention them all, but I do want to mention a few. And one organisation that's particularly close to my own heart is the West Lothian Credit Union. The West Lothian Credit Union grew from a small venture in St Peter's Parish Church in the late 1990s, serving the north part of the town, providing financial assistance, access to affordable credit, and also doing their bit to combat the impact of poverty and supporting people who are struggling to make ends meet. And of course, the West Lothian Credit Union went from very small beginnings and now is a West Lothian organisation, and that they have their base or their premises in Annandale Shopping Centre. There are many other organisations I've had the pleasure of having contact with, whether it's Disability West Lothian, whether it's West Lothian Prostate Cancer Support Group. And these are all organisations that very much depend on volunteers, and I suppose organisations where individuals who've been affected by, in this case, a health issue, have used that experience, turned it around positively, and now reach out to others who are in a similar situation. And I think that's always very poignant when people, despite adversity and despite bad news in their life, can overcome that and use that experience to support other people. And of course organisations like Kids Eco, who are based in Bathgate and Livingston, are doing a lot to support families. It is not easy raising a family in this day and age. It is difficult to make ends meet, and Kids Eco, social enterprise, again, working with volunteers, but it's also, providing a service to people and families who, want to access, and rightly, need to access clothes and equipment and toys for their children, and there is a way, for families across West Lothian to do that at a far more reasonable price. And I'm always struck by the individuals that I meet, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. I was out and about on Friday doing some constituency business and bumped into an 86-year-old volunteer. And I'm also struck by the many, many young people in West Lothian who give freely of their time. Young people who are, looking to get experiences. They're perhaps looking to get some experience of the world of work. They're perhaps looking to, build up their CV. There's many, many young people that participate in the highly successful Saltire Awards as well, and we have to pay tribute to those young people that do that also, because I think the important thing about volunteering is it's not just about helping other people, it's about giving more to become more, and it is very much a two-way street. I'm always struck by how volunteers, as well as talking about the good work that they're doing, talk about how that benefits them personally also. And it is a great way to bring people together. Volunteering, there are countless examples of how it brings the old and young together. And volunteering also, it knows no boundaries. I was reading this morning a website from the Macular Society and how their volunteers are called tech talkers. And the Macular Society is obviously an organisation that's supporting people with, I suppose, very specific and at times quite rare degenerative eye conditions. But these tech talkers are using technology to support people with particular conditions as far away in Australia. And it's how the world is changing. The world is becoming a shorter, a smaller place, and there's nothing that needs to hold us back. That if tech talkers in the UK can support people with conditions in Australia, and I think that's a great example of global citizenship. If you like, something that we're working hard to promote in our schools. As I said, there are of course many, many organisations and individuals in West Lothian that would rightly deserve mention today, but obviously if I had to mention everyone, you would indeed be saying that Angela Constance is indeed a right blether. So I'm just going to end on one thought. Volunteering is often characterised in many ways. Sometimes people try and quantify it in terms of the contribution it makes to the economy, and that's very true. Some people quantify volunteering in the way that it will, saves the country money, and that's very true. And you look at the contribution that carers make and what they save the country in terms of resources and finances. But I think the biggest thing about volunteering is that it's a gift of time. And I think the most precious gift that you can give anyone in this life is indeed your time and your care. And money and resources are indeed important, and I would never demur from that, but the biggest gift you can give anyone is indeed your time. So all that remains for me to do is to thank you for your patience here this morning, but also to add my thanks to each and every volunteer in West Lothian and to each and every organisation that depends on volunteers and supports volunteers also. So thank you very much.